Hello and welcome to South Asia Focus. I'm your host Uzma Jafri. Let's begin the show with India, which recently hosted Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Both neighbors have strengthened their old ties and have developed new relations in energy and infrastructure development. We have a report.
The thrust to develop infrastructure and strengthen its energy sector brings Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to New Delhi. He held meetings with his counterpart Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and signed a memorandum of understanding on economic cooperation. The specific deal to develop the World War II oil storage facility in the eastern port of Trincomalee, South Asia's deepest natural harbour, is expected to be signed in May when Indian Prime Minister visits Colombo. For Sri Lanka, India's planned investment in the energy project in Trincomalee will help counterbalance the massive infrastructure deals signed with China by the former government of Mahinda Rajapaksa, who had leaned heavily towards Beijing. Sri Lanka is India's largest trade partner in South Asia, with the trade between the two countries grew particularly rapidly after the India-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement became effective in March 2000.
To talk more on the India's investment move in Sri Lanka, we are now joined by Ms. Smruti S. Patnaik, a research fellow at the Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis. Ms. Smruti, how significant was the visit of Sri Lankan Prime Minister to India?
I think the India-Sri Lanka relationship have been one of the extremely significant relationship, and which is evident from the fact that after the 2015 elections, both the President and Prime Minister have visited India, and especially under Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, he has proposed the earlier CEPA, that is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which India and Sri Lanka were supposed to sign in 2009, but they could not sign it, as that in Sri Lanka there was a lot of opposition to signing of this agreement, and both the countries are now having talks of having the same agreement in a new name to be signed.
China is investing huge money in Sri Lanka, especially in developing ports. Do you believe it concerns India, a traditional economic partner with Sri Lanka?
Chinese investment per se, obviously, if Sri Lanka needs infrastructure project and there is someone who can fund the infrastructure project or invest in the infrastructure project, technically India does not have a problem. But I think the problem and India's apprehension is much more related to the what is the kind of port and what is the what is the kind of control which China is going to have over the port. So there is this fear that though Hambantota is touted as a commercial port, it can be converted to a strategic port, which will have serious implications for India's security and also the security of the Indian Ocean region, with China having a permanent base in the Indian Ocean.
Thank you, Ms. Smruti. Moving on, China is aggressively working on to build infrastructure in Pakistan for the multi-billion-dollar China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. However, the people of Pakistan's Balochistan province have intensified their protests to oppose the corridor, as they call it an attempt to exploit their resources. Our report.
Amid opposition by local residents, China continues to build infrastructure at Gwadar port, which is situated at the mouth of the Persian Gulf in Pakistan's Balochistan province. The China Overseas Port Holding Company Limited, which took over the management of the port in 2013, has plans to develop and operate a 923-hectare free zone of the port. The economic corridor, which connects China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region to Gwadar port in Pakistan, will give China an access to Middle East and Africa.
It is not just container terminals or multi-purpose terminals. We have plans to construct the petrochemical terminals, the LNG terminals, for coal imports export, for iron ore, for passenger cargoes, for vehicle imports and exports. Not only that, but also the government of Pakistan is planning to start a large shipyard here in Gwadar. So it is going to become a comprehensive port infrastructure project here in Gwadar. And definitely this will make this entire region prosperous.
The people in Balochistan are against Chinese presence in their territory and oppose China-Pakistan economic corridor. They are seeking international intervention to stop exploitation of their resources by China and Pakistan. Recently, Baloch activists in Germany's Berlin city urged Western forces to occupy their territory.
We request the civilized world to condemn a bloody project by Pakistan and China, which is being made over thousands of innocent lives of the Baloch.
With Pakistani government already carrying out a systematic ethnic cleansing in Balochistan, the economic and social hardships caused by the implementation of the CPEC projects is expected to cause further suffering for the local Baloch.
Speak up before it's too late.
To speak more on Baloch opposition to CPEC, we are now joined by Noordin Bengal, a Baloch political activist. Mr. Noordin, we have seen that Baloch are opposing the economic corridor and also accusing Pakistan for carrying out atrocities in Balochistan. What is the reality there?
Of course, there will be a great rise in enforced disappearances because China expects Pakistan to complete the project by a certain date. And in order to do that, Pakistan will desperately try to suppress the Baloch people. They haven't been successful at it since the last 70 years, but now they're going to put all their efforts into killing and brutalizing the people of Balochistan. They're going to leave no stone unturned in trying to suppress the people of Balochistan and force them to surrender from the campaign for their rights and to silence their voices. I think things are about to get much worse. I think that Pakistan is about to start a chapter in its brutal history of Balochistan that is unprecedented, and it is important and necessary for the international community, for all the regional players, all the regional powers to step in and rescue the people of Balochistan.
There's a political movement going on in Balochistan where people are demanding independence for Balochistan. So do you fear that this economic corridor will give more powers to Pakistan to suppress Baloch people?
The Pakistani military has left no stone unturned in trying to suppress the Baloch people's political movement. They have now adopted a new method, which is something that we have had phase of for many years, and that is that the Baloch will become a minority in their own homeland. They've tried it by constructing the Gwadar port, and the Gwadar port, as you may know, is also being constructed not for the Baloch people but for Punjab and the military elite who want to colonize Balochistan, who want to shift their population to Balochistan, which only comprises 5% of Pakistan's total population. So the Baloch would completely disappear if an influx of outsiders come to Gwadar.
Thank you, Mr. Noordin. Now we talk about the deteriorating human rights situation in South Asia. In countries like Pakistan, the condition is worsening because of state and non-state actors involving in violating human rights. My colleague Ravi Khandelwal spoke to T. Kumar, the International Advocacy Director for Amnesty International USA.
Mr. Kumar, if we talk about the human rights situation in South Asia particularly, the situation in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and you can say in Nepal is getting worse day by day. So how do you analyze the situation, because you represent Amnesty International?
I'll go from east to west, or west to east. Afghanistan, the suffering of people have not improved by both parties. Government supported by the US, bombing, arresting, killing, all these things, as well as the Taliban and other extremist groups, disregarding the rights of fundamental protection of civilians there. The new dimension that came up is refugees who fled Afghanistan to Pakistan have been pushed back now. So that's creating another dynamics that's happening in Afghanistan, where the new refugees are pouring in without any infrastructure, any kind of plans to absorb them. And also there are new refugees being pushed back from Europe. They are sending back plane loads of Afghans back to Afghanistan. So the situation is, I will say, getting bad to worse. When you move to Pakistan, the situation in Pakistan is 3 or 4-fold. One is Balochistan, where it did not get much attention. There it's ethnic based, where they have been singled out for killings and other abuses. And world is rarely look at their plight. The most disturbing element in Balochistan is the disappearance piece. When you come to Sindh, the abuses are there, but in particular against Mohadiya Qawami movement, MQM. That's the targeted attack on that political party. And as a result, a political party has been, they also have problems, by the way, but the military and the paramilitaries have really used excessive force to destroy a political party, but I don't know whether they will succeed or not. And also there are other issues in Sindh province of religious persecution as well as violence against women. Then in Punjab, the dynamics is the same. Now we are seeing a new dynamics coming up, where Pashtuns have been singled out, which is newly coming up because of their background and involvement. They have been kind of singled out and started being persecuted. That's not a smart move for any country to single out a particular ethnic group living in different parts of the country, but that's the reports we are getting. When you go to Bangladesh, the abuses against minorities are increasing, even though that may not be the government. But the issue of intolerance against Hindu minority and others are increasing now. As the government's crackdown on political opposition under different guard. Nepal, it's back to square one. We thought things are improving there, but after the earthquake, things have changed. And now we are seeing the Tarai uprisings and the constitutional impasse is taking place there.
So you talk about the Afghanistan and Pakistan situation. Is the country, where both the state and non-state actors, they are active, and the civilians, they are being targeted, especially in Pakistan, if we talk about. So what the human rights organization should look to get justice to the civilians?
Our first priority is to get the right information, to do a thorough research to make sure that we are not getting any exaggerated information or even suppressed information. Then we try to identify who is responsible. Then the next one is the advocacy part, where we push Pakistani government to change and explain to them this is what's happening. Then we'll go to the international community. International community are twofold. We go to different countries to raise this issue and use their leverage bilaterally when they have meetings. The second one is the UN. We ask other countries to take Pakistan to the UN General Assembly or the Human Rights Council to raise the issue and to push for it.
So Kumar, you spoke about Nepal, where the government has failed to provide the rights to the Madhesis, the ethnic people. They are demanding a change in the constitution, but the government is not listening to them. So do you say that it's a violation of the human rights?
Yeah, the protection of minorities or one ethnic group is important. Madhesis in Terai, they have been protesting against their rights have not been protected, or they did not get adequate avenues in the new constitution. So that is fundamentally important, especially when you try to crack down on peaceful dissent. That is directly connected to human rights situation there.
Now comes to Pakistan, where in Balochistan region, the number of enforced disappearances is going up and up. And since the CPEC project has come to existence, the atrocities have risen in very recent years. So how do you see the implementation of CPEC project and the rise in the human rights violations?
What's going to happen is when there is a major economic development or project coming in, especially with the support of a foreign government, then any opposition or any local grievances will be suppressed, because the government's concern is to push through this agenda for their own benefit. As a result, we have seen human rights abuses increasing, but we are worried about that particular Guada port area. The chances of getting more abuses is real. That's why the international community should focus more clearly on that particular issue and say no one is objecting to your development project, but not at the expense of abusing the local population.
Let's move to Afghanistan, where the repercussions of Taliban attack on a military base continue to jolt the government. Afghanistan's defense minister and army chief of staff have resigned from the post, and the country seeks more international support to fight against the Taliban and ISIS.
On April 24, Afghan Defense Minister Abdullah Habibi and Army Chief of Staff Qadam Shah Shaheen both resigned after the deadliest ever Taliban attack on a military base in Mazar-e-Sharif, in which more than 140 soldiers were killed. President Ashraf Ghani had also replaced the commanders of 4 army corps in response to the attack, and as many as 8 army personnel had been arrested, heightening suspicions the attackers had inside help.
خواسته شده که ما ادامه بدیم اما ما احترام به ذهنیت عمومی داشتیم و از رئیس جمهور و رئیس اجرایه التماس کردیم که بگذاریم فرصت بیشتری به دیگاه داده شود که اونا را هم در معرض امتحان قرار بدیم.
Analysts believe the Taliban are quickly changing and are using intelligence resources in carrying out attacks against the Afghan government and military.
If you see it from the Taliban side, they are rapidly working on their tactics. They are changing their tactics. In some incident, it is very hard to identify that whether this tactic is what tactic they use. Some tactics are very new that cannot be analyzed by the Afghan military. This is from Taliban side. They have good intelligence information. They have good technical resources.
Afghanistan ambassador to India, Shahid Abdali, said Kabul needs global support for effectively dealing with the Taliban and Islamic State militants, and warned that threat from IS could spill all over Indian subcontinent and beyond. Abdali's comment comes just 10 days after the US military dropped its largest ever conventional bomb on suspected Islamic State fighters in eastern Afghanistan.
Our forces, as I said earlier, are committed to fight, and they are fighting this most brutal phenomena as well in Afghanistan. And we've made a lot of progress in terms of dealing with Daesh. But we still hope that countries around the region and the world will help Afghanistan deal with this most dangerous phenomena that we face in Afghanistan today, and will eventually spill over to the rest of the region and beyond.
Afghan security forces have suffered massive casualties since US-led foreign combat troops left Afghanistan in 2014. In the first 8 months of 2016, insurgent attacks killed close to 7,000 Afghan security forces.
The ISIS expansion in Afghanistan poses a new security threat. Let's move to Nepal, which observed the 2nd anniversary of April 2015 earthquake that claimed lives of about 9,000 people. Many survivors are still awaiting compensation from the government. But today we meet a family of a miracle boy who survived despite being buried under rubble for 22 hours.
2.5 years old Sonis Awal, a miracle boy who survived under the rubble of his family house in Kathmandu, which was struck by 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Sonis is such a happy, bright and boisterous toddler. But the impact of the earthquake on the family's life has been immense.
देखेको कुरा क्याच गरिहाल्न सक्ने खालको छ अहिलेलाई हैन पछि त अब भन्न सकिन्न तर भनिन्छ नि सानुमा चलाक बच्चा ठुलोमा पनि चलाकै हुन्छ भन्छ.
Sonis has now started going to a daycare center and is happy to play with other children. Teachers say that he has shown significant improvement with time and is showing a normal behavior.
अलि अब झगडा गर्ने खालको छ अलि अरु बच्चाहरु भन्दा फरकै छ यो रुनमा पनि अति नै अघि अस्ति 2 हप्ता जति त रे मात्र बिताएले 2 हप्ता जति त
खेल्न यताउति खेलौना केही लिँदैन केही चिन्दैन रुन्छ अहिले फेरि अरूसँग झगडा गरेर दुःख दिन्छ
A large number of families were rendered homeless after the earthquake which claimed 9,000 lives and left 22,000 people injured. After 2 years of the tragedy, the reconstruction work has been moving at snail's pace. Dr. Kovin Raj Pokhrel, who is heading the Reconstruction Authority, affirms that they have been facing challenges at every step and are relentlessly working to clear all hindrances.
You should see how the institution has been created, how many hurdles it is facing in coordination and collaboration, and how perpetuating mechanisms are there which will help us to for the fast delivery. So in that aspect we have failed to design the modality, to coordinate and to fulfill the commitment that was made in the act.
There are many earthquake survivors across Nepal who need urgent support from the government. However, the political instability in the country causes a major hurdle in the reconstruction work and allocation of funds to the victims.
The International Conference on Nepal's Reconstruction held in capital Kathmandu on June 2015 witnessed the pledge of $4.4 billion in the form of a grant. Now we take you to India's northeastern region, which is rich in biodiversity and attracts many tourists every year. But there still remain a number of places in the region that remain unexplored. One such place is the Chobimura Hills in Tripura state, which boasts of many archaeological sites. Take a look.
Located on the banks of Gomati River in Tripura, Chobimura is a hill range famous for its rock carvings on the stone wall of the hills. Literally meaning the peak of God, Chobimura holds great archaeological importance, dating back to 15th to 16th century, making a revival of Brahmanism in the area. There are 37 rock carvings on the walls, including those of Ganesha, Kartikeya and Brahma Vishnu Maheshwar. The 20 feet Devi rock cut image is the main attraction and has emerged as a major tourist hub.
Last 2 years, means last year and this year, so many tourists has come here. I mean, I cannot say, means it has developed like anything. The number of tourists is increasing day by day, year by year, just within these 2 years. Before 2 years, only some, say 100, 200 people used to come here, but now in thousands people are coming here. Tourism is obviously, with the increase of tourism, obviously livelihood of the nearby villagers, it will increase obviously.
Chobimura Hill Range is located 46 miles from Agartala city. The tourists first reach Amarpur town, from where they take a local boat to reach the archaeological site. Waterfalls and trekking through the dense forest range remains an attraction for visitors.
I came to know about this place through internet, and I really wanted to come to this place. And I came here with my family from Guwahati, actually.
Are you enjoying?
Yeah, I'm enjoying.
Chobimura is a tribal area and is considered as one of the most popular hubs of fishing in the state. The increasing tourist influx also generates employment opportunities for the locals.
India's northeast region has many wonderful tourist destinations which can be explored at any point of time in the year. With that, I take your leave. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.